Hello, I'm Mark Brohan, Senior Vice President, B2B and Market Research at Digital Commerce 360, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's webinar. And today, we are drilling down on a very important topic that is frankly confusing buyers and sellers, and we're going to get some answers to that. We're going to talk about search as a strategy, enhancing e-commerce through customer experience excellence. And we have put together a panel today that's going to answer the questions and give you best practices and thoughtful advice on how to improve how you're doing this on this very important topic. And for that, we've invited Brian Land, VP of Solutions Engineering at LucidWorks, who's going to talk about some of the technical aspects of this and technology outlooks that you should be thinking of top of mind. We have Denise Vivas, founder and CEO of OmniFly Solutions, who has been through many projects of this nature, joined by Marta Dalton, VP of Marketing at PetSafe Brands, who has seen this from a distribution point of view from many an angle. And we have Bill Boucher, manufacturing, retail, and distributions practice leader, Southeast Regional Leader, partner at Whipfly. And they just did some eye-opening research themselves on the state of manufacturing and some of these topics. So we've got a dynamite panel. We're going to jump right in. And Brian, our first question to you, which is, why is the customer experience playing a pivotal role in the success of B2B e-commerce ventures?
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me. Absolutely, customer experience is definitely playing a pivotal role. And I've been here at LucidWorks for 6.5 years. We are the AI-powered search and discovery platform, and we talk to lots of customers. And in B2B, what we're hearing is they want to transform their customer experience, and their customers are used to the consumer experience. Like think about Amazon, Netflix, Google over many years. And so they have certain expectations. That's one big driver, right? To enhance the user experience and to make it more Amazon-like. And also the competition, right? It's a more competitive world, and customers are more likely to bounce if they can't find really the information looking for in discovery and research, or if they can't find the right product to buy. So those are two key drivers, and I know we're going to talk technology and really the really cool hot topic these days with Gen AI, which we're talking to almost every day now with our customers. But that's why the two key drivers, I think, are those two from our perspective.
Marta, I want to ask you the same question a little more direct, because customer experience is frankly not new. Site search, hardly new. But I can tell you, all the research that we conduct at DC 360, all the research that my wingman Paul and I do as journalists here, the customer experience is increasingly clear from the buyer's perspective. They know what they want, and it's omni-channel and not just e-commerce sites and apps. But there seems to be a rather big struggle on the part of sellers, depending upon who you are, to bring this about. Why is that? So my question to you is, why is CX a bigger deal now than before? And if you're struggling with it, what do you do about it?
I think Brian hit the nail on the head. It's raised the bar, right? Over the past 20 years, all of our B2B buyers, they're consumers in their daily lives, and they've become used to the level of personalization that you get from an Amazon or a Walmart. And on the B2B side, I think we struggled with the fact that really what we're trying to do is create a digital salesperson. So you have this fabulously trained person who knows the customer's industry, their needs, their wants, their concerns. And how do you take some of that knowledge and digitize it so that salespeople aren't left answering all of the questions by themselves? I think on the B2B side, it starts by saying, hey, this is meeting the customer where they're at. And it's something that we need to do to make sure that we can respond to them with a human, with an online CX, however it is they want to be engaged with. And with understanding that the human piece absolutely still has value, and that this is just a start of the relationship with the company, and it's a great way to bring people in, and that you can still use the sales methods you've been using for years after that.
So Denise, if customer experience, as Marta and Bill just pointed out, is much more top of mind with a B2B audience these days, is that a technical issue? Is that a business strategy issue? I mean, can you kind of, well, if you've got to deliver a better customer experience from a B2B side, if you will, what's the landscape here? Technology driven, strategy driven, or both? What do you think?
It's capability driven. So I would say, Mark, strategy without tactics is just paper, right? And tactics needs to be able to be executed. So this topic is increasingly becoming very important. And I think Martha and Brian both really have brought really big points. And I will say the reason is now a much bigger piece of conversation is because we have learned that the magic happens at the intersection of digital and offline, just as you were talking about the traditional selling process, right? That relationship building process, but then how do you amplify that with digital commerce and vice versa? That is kind of where customer experience comes as a strategy that brings everything together. And customers don't care about channels, right? They don't care about, well, my experience is really good when I talk to Joe, but then if it breaks when I'm in Joe's digital sphere, right? Let's say the manufacturer or the distributor brand, the experience is broken. So on the opposite side, on the opportunity side, it's completely the opposite way. If my experience with Joe is really well, and then my experience on the digital sphere of Joe is excellent and is complementary, then I'm hooked. I become loyal, right? Because there is a solution that is presented to me. Now, in the world of B2B particularly, the most important asset is time, is speed. So customer experience is bringing, the importance of it is pretty much rounded on how much efficient is my experience with this brand from manufacturer and distributor. How much faster can I go through the things that I need to do to get something done? And that's where the strategy of customer experience come into play, follow with a very, very robust tactical executional plan.
So Bill, what's the perspective that you folks are seeing? And bring in your study if you want to a little bit here, but if this is top of mind with a B2B e-commerce audience, which of course it is, like we've just discerned here, what do they want? What are they not getting, or what do they want more of, let's say? What are you folks seeing?
Yeah, I think it's as much, it's not the B2B manufacturers don't understand what the people want, okay, their customers want. It's about their inability to execute to make it a repeatable experience. So we see a lot of folks in that don't have the basics around, let's say, integrated e-commerce and ERP, or even an ERP that allows them to get real-time or near real-time access to inventory and availability and costs and so forth. So again, we do understand what clients want. We deal a lot with small and mid-sized manufacturers, and they do understand that. Now, I would tell you a fraction of them actually use CX in their business case to help upgrade or update their ERP to be able to get to the data consistently, repeatably, and accurately. So I do think there's just some fundamental challenges as you move from enterprise clients that have been in ERP 2, 3, 4, 5, actually doing a lot of work in chat GPT or generative AI, into the the mom and pop manufacturers that are the backbone of our manufacturing economy here, that are probably 80% of the folks. They're not ready for this. So the sooner we can start to move them off of non-integrated, non-real-time solutions and begin to get that data smooth and accurate, then and integrating into some form of e-commerce or Amazon, that's when they'll be able to start to deliver it. So it's not a matter of that they don't understand. I just don't think a number of them can do it. And if they do, they're scared that they'll be giving bad data. And there's one thing to actually say you can't do it, nah, we'll forgive you, we'll still make the phone call. But if you think you can do it and do it wrong, I'll never call you again. So I mean, I hate to say it that way, but I mean, it's a bit of a catch-22. And we try to help people understand that there's more to getting your foundation set and a strong base established so that you can move to the next stage. And again, it's a different mindset these days, because again, CX and the interactions of customers direct to the manufacturer is still a relatively small and foreign concept for a lot of those small and mid-sized manufacturers,
Okay.
but they know they need to do it.
Well, let's see what the audience thinks.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mark, but you ask about technology. Is this a technology topic, or is this the strategy? Is this tactical? I will say the reason I talked about capability, and that's how we really implemented it in the past. A capability is a much more comprehensive run-up solution to this topic. It includes analytics, it includes processes, it includes governance and people, training, with technology as an enabler. So it is not a technology topic. Technology is used to enable a new capability. It is a very important component, don't get me wrong, because technology is our best friend here and can do fantastic things for us, but it really is much bigger than that. It goes back to being able to bring all those pieces together, right? And that's what is complex. That's what you're talking about, you know, to a point, because you cannot just treat this as a technology implementation project. It needs to be bigger than that.
Let's see what the audience thinks. Let's go to our first poll question. Take the temperature of the room, so to speak, on some of these topics. So, how important is search in improving customer experience? Most important, somewhat important, not important. So now it's time for our audience to vote and let them tell us what they think. Okay, can we see our results here? Okay, so most important, 72%. I mean, so we'll just sum this one up pretty easy. It's pretty important. So that dovetails directly into our next question, which is we're going to start with Denise on this, Denise on this one. So Denise, you just mentioned technology is our friend. Why don't we unpack that for just a little bit here, which is, why is search functionality the linchpin for an exceptional customer experience in B2B e-commerce, do you think?
Well, I mean, everybody in the room is probably tired of hearing that search is king, and obviously the poll kind of shows that too. And it couldn't be more true in B2B, right? Where search is simply the cornerstone of a great customer experience. Now, what do I mean with that? Well, the B2B selling process is largely aided by digital commerce, right? We just said that. It's the amplification. And it really happens across the entire shopping journey, from researching solutions to reordering inventory. And through all of that, the reality is still today, there's a lot of friction. So for instance, I search by commercial paper towels, which used to be a very important term for us back in SCT. Google's give me 39 million results, Amazon 70,000 results, and a very large distributor out there that I'm not going to mention, more than 100 results. What that translates into for the traditional B2B buyer is clutter. It's as simple as that. It's just clutter. So what does search do for us in this context, right? Well, it builds our brand. B2B buyers just don't have time for clutter. So if your brand is not on the first page of results, it simply doesn't exist, right? You're invisible. It also builds loyalty. So as I mentioned, the single most important resource in B2B is time, is speed. We want to sell faster, right? More products. And helping buyers find exactly what they need quickly will keep them coming back to you over and over and over. And then it drives growth. Over 70% of transactions today occur on that first page of search results. So if you want to be able to drive sustainable, profitable growth, your brand needs to be there organically. Now, as you said, Mark, search is not new, right? And technology-driven search is not new. It's been around for more than 20 years, and it has been constantly evolving through these last 20 years. But I do feel like AI absolutely changes the game plan in a very transformative way. And it equips us with a superpower that we didn't have before, if we use it well. And we'll talk about that during this panel as well, right? So the reason I say that is because this clutter I referred to is solved via the contextual personalization of search. Said differently, it is about solving this clutter by getting search engines to show the most relevant products to the specific needs of a specific buyer needs quickly. And this happens, as Bill mentioned, when lots and lots and lots of data come together to provide a whole new level of relevance to what buyers see on that first page. So data is the fuel here, but the engine is now, I'll say, in the next 5 to 10 years, is going to be AI, because AI can process all this data in a very quick way, in a very efficient way, which we didn't have before, right? So I think that is definitely a game changer. So as we all say, customer experience paramount in B2B, increasingly important, complex to resolve, but it shouldn't feel complex to the B2B buyers. And search, quite honestly, is probably the most important conduit to it, building your brand, driving loyalty, and igniting growth for brands. So super important.
I want to switch to Brian here for a sec to kind of build on that thought, Denise, which is from the lens at LucidWorks, Brian. So we've stated the obvious: customer experience top of mind. Site search, I mean, come on, that's like bread and butter. You got to pull that off. But from the lens of LucidWorks, what are you seeing that is new out there that should be applied by the customer base that we're talking about here to this? And if you want to bring in AI, fine, but I think people out there are kind of wondering to know what they should be doing with site search to improve customer experience across the board. So what are you folks seeing?
Absolutely. We're seeing all of our customers want to they want AI-based search to help with the challenge that Denise just mentioned, which is matching search to user intent. Like I'm searching for the towels and I'm getting 1,000 results, but I'm not matching what the user's intending to buy at that moment, the right person, the right product, the right person at the right time. So you can use a lot of AI to collect what we call signals. And so we know who that person is, the buyer, and who they work for, and to kind of loop back to what Bill was saying, if you integrate with inventory systems, ERP, maybe a customer data platform, the CDP, the PIM, and you track the user signals, and we can have more personalized search results. So instead of getting 1,000, you might get 1,000 results, but we're matching the query to the user intent to the top 3 to 5 results, because that's what consumers are really wanting. That's what they're used to. They're searching for something on Google, Amazon. They usually see it in the first 3 to 5 results, maybe even in the type ed as they're typing. And that's another area where AI can predict as you're typing character number 4, number 5. If it's not the product, maybe the top 3 categories. If they're searching for components and analog and digital microprocessors and things like that. So that's kind of what we're seeing. There's a lot of different integration. Some integration points that are required for that, but collecting signals, which are essentially what all your user behavior has done in the past. So every search, who they are, where they're located, what company are they with, what do they click, and what do they add to cart and finally check out. So, AI basically crunches all those signals all day long so that the next time a similar user or same user comes to the site and tries to buy something, we can match user intent really, really well for that.
Marta, I could recite your extensive resume in all of this, and you can too. But, suffice it to say, I can't think of a e-commerce technology equation, problem, scenario, solution you haven't dealt with. So down to brass tacks here. If site search is the linchpin of better customer experience for a B2B audience these days, what should you be doing? And we can bring in AI in just a second here, but first off, where should your site search be these days if your customer's demanding a lot more from what he or she's not getting now, do you think?
So we've talked a lot about personalization, right? So knowing that we understand who is searching, when they're searching, why they're searching. There's certainly a lot of different intents. You can have people who are searching because they're at the top of the funnel, they're trying to find some kind of solution. People who are more bottom of the funnel, they're typing in a part number, they know exactly what it is. So having that context. At its core, search needs to be accurate, it needs to be easy, and it needs to be fast. Accuracy is table stakes, but accuracy, this is going to surprise you, but it's a relative term because there are times that people aren't using the words that they want to find. I'm going to give you an example. I worked for Coca-Cola in B2B, and we sold Powerade, which is a sports drink. I would have people coming to type in Gatorade. That's a competitive product. So the intent behind this, seeing that I had people typing this in, they obviously weren't converting, they weren't getting results. The intent was that they were looking for a certain kind of product. Have that product, I had to be able to serve it up to them, and I wasn't doing it at the beginning. Accuracy to the customer is getting to the item that they're looking for. And so I had to make sure I was providing them regardless of how they started off the search. Making it easy means that you're doing type ahead, means that you're considering people that are going to use longer queries versus shorter queries. You've got visual search. Maybe you want to take a picture of a part and search for it, or you want to do voice search. There are a variety of ways to do input. So easy, again, means different things to different people. And fast means that whether you've got 2,000 items that you're selling, or when I used to work in industrial distribution and I had 5 million, you have to be able to provide those results in a timely manner. And if you can do those three things, then I think you've got a customer that's going to be sticky.
Now, Bill, to kind of circle back to you on this. So once again, customer experience, big, huge deal out there, no questions asked. You know, Denise and Marge just kind of unpacked about the components of what site search should be, to at least be the table stakes, to use Marta's term. But you just mentioned that you're seeing a disconnect in some of this with maybe smaller to mid-sized manufacturers, and you mentioned it, you tied it back to the overall question about data. Any thoughts here about how you see site search rolling out these days and the disconnect between ERP data, front-end data, and site search? That's kind of a critical component, let alone before you can make the leap to AI. What do you think?
That is the component. To Marta, you hit the nail on the head, the accuracy and context. I mean, speed's table stakes. I'm not sure what speed is anymore. I don't care. Google tells me 0.00009 seconds for 10,000 results. Makes no difference. Speed's not that. I mean, everything is fast. But that whole accuracy and context. So if I keep it in a simple example, think of all of us trying to use just a simple generative AI, ChatGPT, and asking the right question and getting the answers. I mean, you know, again, I'm not saying AI's been around 40 years, generative will continue to help us, but to be able to ask a multi-dimensional question and have each component searched equally versus the way it is today, the first 2 words are searched heavier than the last 4 when you go out and use any tool that's out there right now. That's key to us to be able to make sure that we get the right information back to that B2B buyer. So that those data elements, whether it's SKU, part number, size, density of material. Again, think about all the different components on a bill of material. That when you get in direct materials, you need to get that specific. We're not paper towels on indirects, but there's still some context around that. So I think there is, as I'm learning through just the simple generative piece, we start to apply that into context to get the right accuracy. So to be able to ask the right question with the right data elements, pick and choose those data elements. Again, I'm a simple guy, pick and choose 3 and let them versus me typing or speaking. English is my second language, so it really doesn't work. I'm not going to tell you my first, but at the end of the day, I think that's when we get a much higher return on our personalization and the integration back into the ERP. So I already know those from a bill of material, the attributes I'm looking for will help aid us. So again, I think that full integration will help us get to data quicker to be able to have the right context to ask the right question. It'll still come down to, as we know today, asking the right question. Ask the wrong question, you get it. So,
in fact, speaking of questions, thanks, Bill. Let's see what the studio audience thinks for our second poll question, because they have some definitive views on the first one. What about this one? So, are you actively working on a roadmap to improve customer experience leveraging technology? Yes. Planning to start? Not in the plan. So why don't you folks out there vote and tell us what you think? We'll give it just a few seconds more. Okay, let's see our results. What do our attendees think? Well, once again, it's pretty overwhelming. Yes, 70%, planning to start 30%. So that tells you, I think that just drives home the importance of the topic we're talking about today, which is that all of this customer experience tied to site search is a very bread and butter linchpin issue that's going to be top of mind with everybody out there, and we're going to unpack it even further. So let's go back to our panel here. Brian, I want to get into advanced search here. So our next question has to do with this. How can advanced search solutions streamline the buyer's journey, accelerate the sales cycle, and foster trust and loyalty? That's a lot for advanced search to do. Is it pulling it off, or what do you think?
It is, and there's new technology, well, machine learning and AI, we've been doing that for 8 years. I started with Endeca in the early 2000s. It was just keyword search. And what really lured me to LucidWorks was their early adoption of machine learning and AI. And not just for search, but for research from Gen AI now is the hot topic of the year. Marta, you talked about Powerade versus Gatorade. And we have customers have the same problem. Like I think about a big box wholesaler, but they have a very wide but shallow catalog. Like they have Huggies and private label diapers, but no Pampers. And one of their top queries on their site are Pampers, and they get no checkout, 0 results, and no loss of sales. And so there's this new technology around semantic-based search. So finding, instead of keyword search, which everyone's pretty good at, but now semantically linking diapers, Pampers query is closest to my private label diapers and my Huggies brand. So to surface those results, so that's going to increase. But that's on the query side. And on the B2B side, there's also a lot, I'm finding there's a lot more research. So B2B buyer, they typically may do more research, and they might be more sophisticated products. There might be engineering diagrams, manual diagrams. And so the hot topic this past 12 months has been how can Gen AI really understand these documents, allow my B2B buyers to do better research. And so we, for example, now instead of just indexing product data, we're indexing all this non-product content, those manuals, those PDFs, those white papers, and allow the user, the buyer, like in a co-pilot fashion or on the search box or in a chat bot, ask really technical questions, like what's this product made of? Will it work with this other component? What are the related products on the P2B page? And so, and also accuracy is another big key. And with Gen AI, one of the challenges is with precision, because if you were to ask ChatGPT a question, it's going to be very confident in the answer, but it may not be the right answer. And so this is a little bit of a technical answer, but with retrieval augmented generation, which is RAG for short in the machine learning area, we're only giving the answer from the corpus of data. So think about 3 PDFs on a PDF, on a PDP page. All right, give me the precise answer of those 3 PDFs. And so you can ask very technical questions using the same ChatGPT large language model type of technology on that. So that's precision of answers, because what's the downside of that? If you're a B2B buyer and you're about to buy $5,000, $10,000 of product, you get the incorrect answer. You're looking at a return, an expensive process. You're getting negative CSAT. So there's all these risks out there. And so the journey, it's around the research and the query intent, and also another big thing our customers are doing is around data enrichment. So data is always a challenge. I don't have enough data for my buyers to decide on before when they're doing the purchasing process. So we're helping them use Gen AI and AI to enrich their current data. Maybe even think about ChatGPT. If you've used it, you can ask a large language model a question when a new product comes in. Ask a question: can you build a glossary out of this data from a PDF or from my product page? And it'll spit out the glossary. Now it's tagged to the product record, and you can surface that to the user on the PDF page. So there's all this great stuff that's going to help the entire buyer journey and the research and the purchase, and asking technical questions so they get all the right information before they add those 500 items to the checkout page and make a big purchase. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Definitely a lot has changed in the last year with Gen AI and large language models. Pretty exciting.
Bill, what are your thoughts on that? Because if advanced search is kind of paramount to better customer experience, what should that incorporate, do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Brian 100%. The semantic search, the understanding, predictive suggestions, those types of things are all going to help those folks get to data faster. We had a distributor that we worked with to kind of help reduce the search time to kind of increase their purchasing power as far as being able to do some of that simple stuff. But, you know, I do think the combination of two, and really it's the data accuracy and having more tools for self-service. So the data accuracy component of whether it's the large language models and so forth, that is still paramount with everything we do. And I'm not sure we're spending enough time and energy to vet that data that's going into the models to make sure that we're giving the right buying decisions. There's one thing for me to return my shoes back through a consumer thing and get free shipping. I'm not sure it works on everything else in a B2B environment. I think that's a little bit more difficult to do. So I do think we need a lot better and a lot more focus on the curation of the data, and as a first step to make sure we get that. The second one I've kind of mentioned before, but I'll use different terminology. More self-service tools. I think one of the distinguished panel mentioned whether it's voice, pictures, or typing, or again, pushing a button. You know, we need to do more than just typing in the context, because again, all of us come at this from a different perspective of where we're at and being able to interact with the tools. So some of us will do better at punch and click and pictures of what we want, combined with specifications coming from a bill of material to be able to hone that question and get the right question so that it goes against the right data. But I do think there's a lot of work on the data side, to Brian's point, that we need to get accurate, get fixed. And I do believe that we need better tools than what we have today to help the people get to the right question.
And, you know, Marta can't say this, so I will. I am a huge Marta fan because I think there are frankly few B2B commerce thought leaders that are as exceptional as Marta, because she's written the playbook on a lot of this stuff. Therefore, Marta, having given you that nice bouquet of a compliment here, I'm going to ask you a tougher question, which is, okay, fine, we get it. Advanced site search is a big deal, but customer experience is not just an e-commerce site, and it's not just searching an app. It is omni-channel, to use that tired old phrase. It's multi-channel. So a B2B buyer comes in, you know, to a seller from 3, 5, 7, 10 different channels, depending upon how they integrate. So my question to you is, everybody should be looking at the lens of omni-channel, or at least multiple sales channel, digitally driven for advanced search. How do you unpack that? What should you be doing, so to speak, do you think?
It's about making sure everybody has access to the same data. So regardless of how that customer chooses to engage, they call the call center, they're talking to a salesperson, they're on the site, everybody can see the same information. They can see how they searched or what they've bought in the past. And even from a digital standpoint, you get the same context. We talked earlier about how you're trying to have a website and a search experience essentially be your digital salesperson. Now, your salesperson is going to pick up during a conversation. They'll understand what the customer knows, what they don't, where they are in the buying process. And when I'm on a site, I have to get that information based on context clues of what pages the customer has hit, what query originally brought them there, what different materials have they interacted with on my site, a buyer's guide or some kind of detailed spec sheets. So putting all of that together, I want to have all of those digital signals partnered with my offline signals. So conversations customer care had, conversations the sales team had. And if I can get all of this information in one place, now I've created a truly multi-channel experience, because I can leverage that to answer customer questions based on where they are and what they know and what they want to know. So whether it's on the site or they're coming to talk to a salesperson, everybody can tell where they have to go next and make that predictive choice of what we should be talking about as the next step in the funnel.
Another rock star we're lucky to have here today is Denise. And one of the reasons that I was very I was just so glad that Denise could join us today. Is she has probably done this for more manufacturers than a lot of folks out there. So she's been through this, just like Marta's been through it. So Denise, my question to you is, I'd like some best practice advice. If people out there are looking to expedite advanced search to deliver a better job for their user experience, let's say, what do you suggest? What should they do better? What should they avoid doing? What do you think? What are some best practices that you've done over the years with the manufacturers you've been with?
Yeah, and I'm going to speak about this through the eyes of a mid-sized organization that is trying to prioritize investments, right? Because what Marta just mentioned is the holy grail. And Bill alluded to this too, right? The more you integrate systems, the more accessibility to data and transparency to data you're going to have, not only for people, but also for the engines, right? The technology that is crunching through that data. But in reality, it's expensive and complex and difficult, right? If you think about an analogy, it's like a spaghetti ball. It's really difficult sometimes to decomplex, particularly if it is a company that has been in business for a long time and went to business with all separate systems. Even companies, I work today with companies that have grew through acquisitions. Every part of the company, every customer cluster is in a different system and there's no integration. So that what I will say is that something that has helped us in the past is to take a step back and look for a couple of user cases that you really want to solve to drive growth. So an example of that could be retention rate. I want to be able to keep more customers in my customer list because acquiring new customers is very expensive for some B2B organizations. Maintaining customers actually is more profitable. So take a user case, really understand what data is involved in customer retention. What are the metrics? What are the KPIs? What is the business case behind it? And then go and start working towards that specific user case in your integration roadmap. So if you need what people bought, what my customers bought, when, what's the frequency, what kind of search terms they used, right? What kind of pages they visited. And you need all of that in one engine, like bring all those pieces of data together, tackle that, get results from it, drive retention, grow from that, and then keep going to the next user case. That's kind of a tactic to be able to go and get things done, right? In a world where this is something complex and expensive to tackle for so many companies out there because just of the way they have operated in the last 20 years. But make sure that as you go, you really think about that capability framework. And as Marta said, okay, if I have all the data and all the pieces that I need to bring transparency into a user case, make sure your customer service has access to that and can benefit for it. Make sure that all your systems are able to ingest that information and use it. Make sure your marketing, right, is using that information to create lead nurturing or customer nurturing automated campaigns. So be very, very thoughtful about how you're gonna execute on that user case. So as the results come, as the ROI come, then you can come and tackle the next one. But start with something specific. Don't try to fix war hunger and do everything at the same time because it can take some time and a lot of money.
Go ahead, Sharon, go ahead. So Brian, I want to kind of drill into what's top of mind with a lot of people out there, and including on our panel here today, which is AI as it relates to B2B search. So our next question to start with is, how is AI enabling personalized search results based on individual B2B customer preferences and behavior? We've made the point that as business buyers, we're all rooted in kind of our personal experience on the online retail side. So this is not a new rodeo to a lot of people, but it's rather new to complex purchases as they relate to a business transaction. So What do you think? What is the role of AI there in unpacking personalization for a B2B buying experience?
AI is definitely required, I believe, and there are some packaged AI solutions for that. You know, first to market for that example, personalized experience. Maybe Netflix 10 years ago, they had a major data science project, like who could build a recommendation system from watching, you know, Sopranos and Breaking Bad. What else would you recommend? And they'd aggregate millions of user reviews, and they say, oh, what about, you know, Game of Thrones or something like that? But that's the key. Well, Netflix had probably hundreds of data scientists working in the background to build it. That's why I mentioned packaged solutions now can do this, and we do this, is we aggregate those user signals. So, and not just clicks, like when a user searches, you know, for a Gatorade, for example, you know, we're aggregating, we're storing the word Gatorade, who that user is, and and also any facets they may have created, the filters, and what's the end product they added to the checkout, and finally went out. And so when you aggregate that one user's journey times thousands or tens of thousands of journeys per day, and over time it crunches the data and serves it up. And so that's the beauty of these packaged AI systems. So just crunching the data, always tracking, and the real benefit is the analytics. Like, think about the user journey analytics we get out of that. And so that's another big benefit. It's not just, you know, serving up a better customer journey based on that with the AI personalized search, but also the analytics on top of it. But also its key is the integration point that Bill mentioned really early is, you know, some of our customers have CDP systems, and if we can segment by user, by company, by market, they can even be more personalized, or even globally. You know, people that search in Asia maybe want certain other things that maybe here in North America. So if you integrate with these systems and do the crunching of data and have all this rich data, you can have really tailored experiences. There's one more key thing I've heard in B2B I haven't mentioned yet, which are a lot of B2B users have approved shopping, approved product listings, approved catalogs, even with their unique pricing and inventory. So with their unique pricing inventory, that's definitely an integration issue, but also serving up in the search results. And so you don't want the user to try to check out at the very last step in the user journey and say, oh, it's out of stock, right? So blending all that real-time inventory in the search results really key, but that's just, and all that's going to be powered by AI. AI is going to help in that personalization and serving up the right product set to the right user based even by their approved purchase list. But you also want that rich data kind of blended into the search index, right?
Bill, what do you think? I mean, AI, I mean, come on, AI is not new. In fact, it's been around in B2C for so long, I forgot when it wasn't part of the landscape there. But, you know, having said that, I'm just going to flat out say there's been rudimentary AI in B2B for quite some time, whether people know it or not, but now it's kind of a whole new ball game. So if we're talking about the role that AI can play in a personalized B2B search experience, what should that entail, do you think?
I mean, I think you've got to, there's some table stakes, getting all your customer data together. We've talked about that a little bit. I'm probably covering everything that this panel has already said once, but really trying to get all that relevant customer data together in one place as much as you can. The feedback and sentiment analysis that needs to be gathered as well as you start to layer in that data to gain the insights into the preferences and start to curate or tailor the content as you need to. So I think those are some of the first key steps, but if you've listened to what I've said, it kind of focuses in one siloed area, a lot of that data. So I haven't even branched out to the areas where we've talked about having difficulty of crossing mega systems or large systems and pulling that data in. So most of that data was in marketing, sales, and customer already, let's say. So you've got one place, there's a good way to be able to make traction, because it's in again, I hate to use the word silo because it feels so bad in this new age of trying to get all the data together, but you have more influence over the cleanliness of the data, the accuracy of the data. So I think generative AI can really assist in that content creation and driving that information forward. Also with the social media posts, to be able to start to bring that buyer back, because we've been talking about the experience once they hit the website, but The CX experience also takes more into making sure that B2B buyer comes back, knows when things are available and so forth. So it's also reaching out proactively and getting them to come to buy more, right? It's great that they came to buy, but now we want to tell them when we have more. So when order updates are in, or when stock is available for them to order, or if we know something was purchased every 3 months, we should be telling them a month in advance that this is ready. Are you ready to purchase it again? So that type of customer journey, and I think that the use of AI, whether it's simple AI, predictive analytics, predictive, prescriptive, or generative machine learning, will help us move the ball forward around that with our customer experience. Again, getting them to where the B2B company will be telling the buyer, it's time for you to buy. I can't wait for that to happen. I mean, I know we're talking basics, but I can't wait till I get the Granger telling me, hey, you need to order that wiring tomorrow. And it'll be here by Thursday if you push the button in 5 minutes. Think about that. Wouldn't that be nice?
Which by the way, they are already existing Amazon for as consumers, right? As consumers,
right? Exactly. But as an indirect procurement manager or a procurement manager or a buyer on the plant floor, I got thousands of things to listen to. Reminder, I forgot about that. I worked 3 months ago. I got toilet paper for the rooms. If I don't get toilet paper, for God's sake, I'm dead. So. I mean, it doesn't happen though. It does not happen in the B2B space at all.
I want to bring Marta in here for this part of the discussion. So Marta, I'm of the opinion that when it comes to AI and site search, I think a lot of companies have tunnel vision. They think it applies to the e-commerce site. You know, we have to improve that first. But I think it was you that mentioned, not only when I kind of grilled you on omnichannel just a little while ago, but also I think it was you that mentioned that there's voice search, there's visual search, there's keyword search. So I don't see AI as frankly a game changer. I think it's a big problem solver. So if you're looking to leverage AI to expedite more advanced site search throughout the experience, what should that AI blueprint look like, and how should you get started? What should these guys be focusing on is my really core question for you.
I think that AI in search is more about no longer having to know exactly how to ask the question. So we all got very good at Google search because you knew how to phrase it and how to structure your keywords. I think we've all gotten pretty good at site search. We know we have to put in this specification, this height, et cetera, and there are times where you just don't know exactly what you're looking for. And the challenge is trying to come up with the exact keywords or the details that you need to search for without having all of that information. And so I think the piece of generative AI that's really going to help site search grow is that now you don't need an engineer who knows everything about the specifications if you're in a technical space. You can have your procurement person that's able to get the right details that they need because they have the specifications. AI is prompting them, hey, I also need this information, and now you can get to what you want. You can have people who are trying to do a variety of products in a single search. Maybe they're trying to do some kind of bulk operation, or they're trying to start at a higher level and they really need to whittle it down. And where before you would largely end up either doing a search and then trying to search within a search or filter a search. And again, if you just don't know the details, none of those things can be very productive. The person is only as good as their knowledge. A tool is a tool. So being able to have AI guide them through that, I think, is really what's going to change the game.
Yep.
Now, it's hard to generalize, Denise, but having just said that, I'm kind of big on timelines and benchmarks and that type of thing. So if our panel has concluded that AI will become a very large business and technology component of a more focused search leading to a better B2B customer experience, what are your thoughts on the timeline for just where you think the industry is at? Getting going, far along the way, long way to go? How would you just kind of classify that question as to where you think we stand on where folks are at?
It's a pretty big question. It really absolutely depends.
Oh, you bet.
Who's trying to be a moderator, right? Because I would say if we're talking about a mega company, like one of those that I worked for in the past, the way we're looking at it was to fix the basics, right? Bring pieces of data together. That has nothing to do with AI, by the way, right? It's just basic fundamentals of integrating systems. But deploy AI early on to start gathering data, because the engines become smarter with time, right? They need to be statistically, the data needs to be statistically representative to be able to work. Otherwise, you get garbage to a degree. So we were deploying it at the same time without any expectations for it to bring any kind of valuable results for at least a year. Now I'm talking a pretty big company with a lot of disconnected systems. If we're talking to a smaller company, a startup even, that is building everything from the very beginning, I can tell you that engine can get really smart really soon, right? Depending on their ability to reach people and how much traffic they get. So I would say start now, but build the right expectations in terms of the ROI behind that investment, because you need to get to a good level of masses for it to be able to spit out the right things, right? In this case, the right results. So that would be my recommendation, Mark. The time is now. Just make sure that you build the right expectations behind that work and investment.
Okay, and then you know, time is flying here, and we could talk with this all day, and maybe we will if you want to stick around for it. But having said that, I call this kind of our lightning round question, which is our final question today, and then we'll start with Marta, go to Bill, go to Denise, and then kind of wind up with Brian here. But this might be the most top of mind question that the audience may have today, which is what are the risks of applying AI to search? What could go wrong if not deployed correctly? And what do you think about that, Marta? Let's start with you. What happens if it doesn't go right?
AI is just a tool, right? We said that the technology is the technology, and it's how you train it specifically. So what level of depth does AI search have into, I think it was Brian talking about the product data, your CDP, or all the different data sources that you have. How much information have you given it to understand not just the question, but also the context? And then to what extent do you allow for user error? I love to use the term PEBCAC error. It stands for problem exists between keyboard and chair. Get the joke? So assuming that you've got a user error, how do you account for that? How do you account for the fact that they don't understand Gatorade and Powerade are different things, or that they don't quite know how to phrase the question? In the old search world, it was, did you mean? And it was really just about misspellings. And so now we have a wider variety of options for customers when they search, but it also means they can make a wider variety of mistakes. So being able to preempt those, to preempt the problems that we might have, and to give Gen AI as much data to learn from as possible.
And Denise, let's pivot to you for your kind of lightning round thoughts on risk management, risk avoidance, or at least risk tolerance. What do you think?
It goes back to depending on the company, right? A startup will be very bold about this and will try to probably implement it yesterday, regardless of where there are risks. A big corporation is going to be very, very aware of the risks and probably slower to adopt. I would say I haven't used one day ChatGPT where it doesn't give me an answer. So it will give you an answer all the time, and that's one of the major risks, right? But sometimes it hallucinates. It gives you the wrong answer, and as a user trusting Google for years now, right, and getting somewhat of a good answer, you feel like, you know, it makes sense. It's kind of an answer that I can reconcile in my mind. It doesn't sound bad, but in reality, it's not true. So you can get in trouble really quickly if you don't have the right mechanisms for check and balances to use the tool well. So I agree with everything that Marta said, and I'll say the tolerance to risk completely depends on the type of company and the type of brand that we're talking about, right? And their own tolerance.
Okay, and Bill, to bring you in here for the lightning round question, you mentioned that a lot of smaller and mid-sized manufacturers are kind of struggling with this kind of topic in general. So is risk tolerance, risk avoidance, risk management a barrier for them doing more of this, or what do you think?
Yeah, I wish they would think more about the risk. I mean, I'm sure a number of them are out there just using Copilot or ChatGPT with their data and just glad to use it. So again, I'm happy people are using it. I hope it doesn't come back to burn them on that simple task of putting company data out there that they don't know, right? Because they just don't understand. So there's a balance here. I mean, but when I look at it, and it's a lightning round, so I'll just give you a couple. As we know with AI, depends on who codes it, biased results, right? I mean, biased results, you got to be careful with that. Privacy concerns, I mentioned that when you're using ChatGPT and putting your company sales out there. For God's sake, don't do that, okay? You may not get the full benefit, but please don't put your company name at least out there. The whole security vulnerabilities around it, lack of transparency to understanding where the data came from, copyright and so forth. And then you kind of get into, if you get through those, you begin to rely on third-party data. We talked a little bit about that. There's other reliance on other tools that it becomes key to your business. And whether in the old days it was open source, not knowing where it came from, and the security concerns with that, I think we're past that. But we're in the same place there. It's using key tools that are third-party out there that you may not fully understand, that you may not have enough control or influence, you may not even license, and things changing or going away could cripple your business. But again, that's pretty evolved to get that far.
Right.
But it's something that over the course of time, one should consider.
And Brian, you're going to close this out, so let's kind of bring it home here. Summarize where you, and we have an outstanding panel today. I mean, we covered some really good ground with some really solid advice and some good observations here, but Brian, bring it home. So AI, site search, customer experience, what should we be looking for and what should we be doing about it, do you think? That's the final question for you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, and I think I'm going to actually add to the risk part, because we are hearing that from our CIOs. They're reading the news wires about Canadian Air being sued because they answered the wrong question using ChatGPT on a bereavement question. So they were sued on that. Chevy.com sold a Chevy Tahoe for $1. Someone hacked ChatGPT. So what's really important, we haven't talked about, is putting guardrails and control around your Gen AI experience. Mm-hmm. And that, Martha was talking about prompt engineering. I'm going to expand on that because that's something I'm hearing every day. Like every enterprise, 3 years from now, there will be prompt engineering departments. And how do you leverage your enterprise core data, your catalog, and everything around it in your enterprise? How do I get the best out of it using Gen AI? And so these technologies are here to be able to leverage that. And we have a prompt engineering team here at LoosWorks, and we're coaching our customers now, but they're building out those teams. So it's all about leveraging the data. We're talking about the buyer journey in B2B. Absolutely, but they can leverage that in all aspects of their company. So just to close on those two things, we haven't really talked too much about today.
Well, you closed on some big ones there, my friend. So, okay, you know, we're going to leave them hanging out there. But I got to tell you, Bill and Marta and Brian and Denise, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to frankly address a core issue that's top of mind with the audience out there. So thank you so much for a very informative webinar today. And with that, there will be a replay of this webinar available. After we conclude, you will see a pop-up screen. I know we all do, how do we do kind of things. But you know what? It's important for us at DC 360 because it helps us focus on the webinars that you want to hear to help you solve problems in your organization. And we're all about that. And with that, thank you for attending today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.